Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today, we'll be discussing My Bias as a God by Fuyu Touji. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click subscribe and get your Be a Library card for the Be a Library. Before we get started, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled in this manga, go ahead and click off now. No worries, I'll catch you next time. For those of you who decide to stick around, let's go over some content warnings. There may be references to dubcon, confinement, Stockholm Syndrome, male pregnancy, prejudice, power imbalance, gossiping, kidnapping, forced marking, mind control, religion, rituals, forced pregnancy, disordered eating, obsession, invasion of privacy, mentions of death, self-deprecation, social gap, and age gap, as these things do appear in the manga. But if that's good with you, let's go and get started. Mamori is an Idol superfan. His favorite group is Gods, a relatively new and temporary idol group. Despite their name, they aren't gods themselves, but in Mamori's world, gods often live among humans, gathering worshippers in various ways, including the entertainment industry. But besides their superhuman abilities, such as mind control and flying, gods don't look any different from regular humans. And though gods are a normal way of life for Mamori, he's happy that his favorite idol group is comprised of regular, hardworking humans, especially his bias, Kamui. Mamori loves seeing Kamui grow and become the ultimate idol, and he's especially excited to see him perform in person. But during the concert, out of nowhere, it seems like Kamui talks to him and only him, despite being on stage in front of thousands of people. Kamui calls Mamori his vessel, which Mamori doesn't understand. Casting this off as a weird moment, Mamori is ready to go home after the concert, only to be approached by security and swept away to none other than Kamui's home. As it turns out, Kamui is, in fact, a god, and Mamori is his chosen vessel. What is a vessel, Mamori asks? It's the person who will literally give birth to a god's divine messenger, and the only way for it to happen is to do it the old-fashioned way. So not only is Mamori heartbroken that his bias is actually a god, but he's now confined away and forced to have his baby. All Mamori wanted was to be a fan. What does this mean for his future now? So first off, when I saw this was Fuyu Touji, I was very excited. I read their Biokink title, Pain Sweet Pain, and was very back and forth on the art style. It's a unique style, one that I couldn't decide if I liked or not in the previous title due to how heavy-handed the tones and shading were. But thankfully that is not the case here. It's much cleaner in this title, and I can finally say that I do actually really enjoy this unique art style. The issue with the similar faces is also non-existent this time, which is another massive win on that front. Our two main characters are very distinct, with Mamori having wide and open features. In contrast, Kamui has the more familiar narrow and angular features like the characters in Fuyu Touji's other title, Pain Sweet Pain. It is still inconsistent, but it's very cute overall. If I did have one major complaint, however, Mamori looks super young. I'm not a big fan of Shota, and while everyone in this is an adult, Mamori sometimes gives Shota vibes. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but it's not the most offensive thing I've ever seen. If you like Sakuna Tojo, then this probably won't bother you. As for the story, I like how this begins. I like that Mamori is a huge fan of Kamui, only to be whisked away and forced to be the womb of his divine messenger, thanks to some long-standing promise between his ancestors and Kamui. It's very much, quote, never meet your idols, in the literal sense, and I enjoy that aspect of this. It also is Stockholm Syndrome light. I wouldn't say it's full-out hardcore Stockholm Syndrome, especially when you compare it to other titles I've read that are truly hardcore Stockholm Syndrome, but it does have that vibe since Mamori is confined and mind-controlled only to fall in love with Kamui anyway. Otherwise, it's treated very lightheartedly. I wish the mind control had been a stronger element in this. It's used to make Mamori question his feelings and whether Kamui is a true idol or just controlling everyone, but it's otherwise a very small aspect of the overall narrative. It does make for some fun Mindbreak-esque sexy time, which I enjoyed, but that's about it. However, something that played a major role in this, and that I enjoy immensely, is the aspect of breeding. To have a divine messenger, Mamori has to get pregnant by Kamui and give birth. I've had a bit of a hard time with impreg recently, mostly because they talk about impreg, maybe even confirm a pregnancy, but then go no further than that. Thankfully, we do get a payoff in this. We get to see Mamori heavily pregnant, and we get to see their children. Yes, plural, they have twins. It was so satisfying to finally get some aspect of the pregnancy included and a child reveal at the end. Unfortunately, it all happens within a few pages, but I'll take a few pages over no pages any day. So don't expect a ton of pregnancy and child rearing content, but just know that it is in there. But the development of Kamui's character is even more satisfying than the impreg and children reveal, if you can believe that. Not only is Kamui a famous idol, but he's also a god, doubling up the self-confidence and self-importance he should have. However, as it's revealed over the course of the story, he actually works really hard to be a successful idol, and he is intensely self-conscious because of his history of losing followers, whether that be due to death or because of times changing and humans moving away from the rural area he rules over. Usually it would be the non-famous person in the coupling who has to go through some amount of growth to feel he is worthy of his partner, but that's not at all the case here, which is super refreshing. Momori, other than coming to terms with his feelings and the fact that Kamui doesn't just see him as a vessel, stays relatively the same. He's still a super fan of his favorite idol group and even harps on and argues with Kamui. He really seems to hold his own despite their massive power difference. It's a very nice change of pace from what could have been your run-of-the-mill idol with a fan romance as well as god and human romance. With all that being said, this is fine. I wouldn't say it's a favorite as it's far too short for my liking, but it's a solid story overall. I will forever want more in terms of male pregnancy and child rearing, but after all of the misses I've had when it comes to impreg lately, this was a breath of fresh air. This is very fantasy light, very Stockholm Syndrome light, and impreg light, but it's heavy smut and heavy breeding kink, and I'm here for all of that. I think this is worth a read. So, have you read My Bias as a God? If so, what do you think? Do you agree with my assessment? Do you not? Let me know in comment below. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Bye!